Hello guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we will understand about gRPC. And this is a gRPC crash course. Now from this video, what you can expect? You can expect an in-depth introduction on gRPC. And then we'll learn all 4 types of gRPC. And then finally, we'll create a mini chat project using gRPC. In this mini project, we'll implement all the types of gRPC that we have learned. And then we'll create a useful chat project. And then finally, the requirements for this video is that you should know basics of Golang because we'll be coding in Golang. You should have Golang installed on your computer, and all I need then is your time and focus, because if you go until the end of this video, if you follow along and you have your hands on your keyboard, I can assure you that you will understand everything about gRPC, you will understand all 4 types of gRPC, and you will be ready to implement gRPC in real-world project. Now without delaying, let us start the video. Now first of all, let us understand what is gRPC. Now first of all, let me explain you the typical REST. In REST, what happens is that you have client and then you have a server. From client, you send a request and then server will respond back with some response. So server will respond back with some response. This is the typical client-server architecture, but gRPC is not used for this. gRPC is used in different use cases. Suppose this is your backend, and now you might have heard about microservice architecture. In microservice architecture, you have many microservices. So basically this can be microservice 1, microservice 2, microservice 3, and so on. Now, if I need a way to communicate between these microservices, I can use gRPC. So suppose you want to communicate between this microservice, and similarly from this to this. And you also might want to communicate between microservice 1 and microservice 2. Now for this communication, you need gRPC. gRPC stands for Google Remote Procedure Call, and before gRPC, there was RPC. Now gRPC is an improved version from Google, and that's why it is Google Remote Procedure Call. And now why do we want to communicate between these microservices? It is because suppose this microservice, and this microservice can be written in 3 different programming languages. This can be written in Java, this can be from Python, and this can be JavaScript. Now suppose there is a function in this JavaScript that I need to implement in Java. Now how can I do that? For that I can use gRPC. I can use gRPC to communicate between this and this. And for this entire video, if I'm interacting with this and this, then I'll refer this as client and this as server. So I do not mean this architecture, I mean this architecture. So client and server, not the typical REST client and server. So the client and server is within the microservice. So now let me explain you another important thing that we need in gRPC. Before coding, you need to understand this concept. And the concept is proto. In gRPC, you have a special file called proto file. And this proto file contains 2 main informations. First information is proto file contains services, and you can understand services as functions. So if this microservice contains function that I want to call from this microservice, I can use gRPC. So functions and services can be used interchangeably. And another thing that .proto file contains is data types. You define data types. So if I want to communicate between these 2 microservices, I need to send requests from this microservice to this microservice. So I need to send data. And similarly, this microservice will respond back with some response. So all the data types I should define in .proto file. So basically, .proto file is heart of gRPC implementation, which has 2 main things, which is service or functions and data types. Now that we have understood about gRPC, now let us understand about different types of gRPC. Now, I first of all, I want to create the code. I want to basically structure the code. So let us open our Visual Studio Code. So I will open my terminal and I will navigate inside projects and I will create a directory called gRPC YouTube. And let me open this in Visual Studio Code. So okay, I have my directory opened and let me clear my console. Okay, I have my directory open and now I need to set up my go mod file. So I will do go mod init and github.com/let me console you, which is my GitHub username, and gRPC. So my go mod file has been created. Now I need to create that special file which I talked about, which is the .proto file. Now let me create it. So I will name this as chat.proto. Now in the mini project that we are creating is the chat mini project. In chat mini project we want user to register and then we want it to interact to and from the server. So basically user can send messages, user can retrieve messages, and we also want a way to communicate between client and server, where user can send message and retrieve message at the same time. If you didn't understand, don't worry. I have structured the features according to all the four types of gRPC. So you will understand as we progress the video. Now, how to write code in chat.proto. So how do I define services and my data types? So first of all, I need to specify the syntax. The syntax that we will be using is proto3, and remember we need semicolon at the end. Now I need to define the package. I will put the package name as chat, and now option go package. Now option go package is because we need to create the equivalent Go code of this proto file, and for that we need to specify the path. So I need to specify my path here. So gRPC chat and chat.pv. So this will create a directory called gRPC chat, and inside that it will create chat.pv and my Go code will be stored there. Now I need to define all the functions. So I need to specify service chat, and inside this I can specify functions. So remote procedure call, and the first thing I want user to do is register themselves. So function name will be register user, and client will send me user information and I will return with response. So I can name this as register response. Now I need to define what user info is and what register response is. I need to specify what type of data this consists. So to specify, we need to use keyword message and user info, and I want my client to provide me the user information which has username. So string username and 1. Now 1 is basically because while interacting from client to server, we need a way to specify what is username, and once 1 is used to identify that it is username, nothing more. Now we have defined user info. Now let us define register response too. So message register response, and I want to send back a message. So if user is registered, I will send successfully registered or something like this. So okay, I have defined my .proto file. Now I need to create equivalent Go code. Now I don't need to do the hard work. gRPC will automatically do the hard work for me. Now you need to execute two commands. The first command is that you need to install these Go plugins. Now it is because we need these plugins to create the equivalent Go code, and also you need to execute this command. Now why do we need to execute this command is because to execute this .proto, we need to compile this, and to compile this we need a special compiler called proto-c, and protobuf, which is the protobuf compiler, and we need to install this. After you have installed both of this, then you can run this command where you can come back to Visual Studio Code, and here you can define the path to your proto file. So mine is chat.proto. Now when I run this, it says program using absolute path. Okay, it basically says that path is not defined, and for that you need to execute this specific command. So execute this, and when you execute that command again, you should now be able to see that a directory is created. So basically gRPC chat/pb, gRPC/chat/pb, and here we have several Go files where we have the equivalent Go code of that chat proto. Now we don't need to modify this because this is automatically generated. We don't even need to look at this. Now our job is to use this and implement our gRPC. Now back to my terminal. Now we have our proto file created. Now we need a server and a client. A server which can respond to the request of the client. So now let us create our server first. So in my root, I will create a new file called server.go. Now I'll create a main package inside my server.go. So package main, and let me create a function, main function, which is the entry point for execution. And here I will create a TCP port. So net.listen and TCP, and I want in the port number 5001. Sorry for the background noise. So this will return me two things. First is the listener, and second thing is error itself. Now when I save this, you can see import has been made automatically. And now if this returns me the error, which is if the error is not nil, I will automatically, I want the program to be stopped automatically, instantly basically. So error creating TCP listener, and let us also print the error message. So okay, now we have our port. Now we need to create a gRPC server. Now one thing is that inside this Go files, there are different imports that has been made. Now we haven't installed that, which have already been imported. To install that, we can do go mod tidy. So go mod tidy, this will automatically install everything that is imported. Now we need to create a new gRPC server. So gRPC dot new server, and this will return me the server. And now what we need to do is I need to specify the server. So I need to create a struct. So let us create a struct. So server, and this will be a struct, and then pb. So basically pb is this file. So I need to import this. So pb from github.com/letmeconsole.u and gRPC/gRPC chat/chat/pb and this is. Now we can do pb dot unimplemented chat server. When I do this, now I have created the struct. Now what I can do is that I can basically use pb dot register. Why is the suggestions not showing? So let me check if I have these methods here or not. So I definitely have the method, but I'm not seeing the suggestions. Maybe there is a problem in maybe my Visual Studio Code is slow. Basically this should run. So register chat server, and here I need to pass two things. First is the server, and second thing is the struct. So I have passed the server that I created, gRPC server, and I also need to pass the unimplemented new server from this file. Now after I do this, I will basically add a print statement. So fmt.println, and I will print something like server listening. Now whatever request is coming in the server, it will listen in this TCP port. Now I want to forward all the requests to this gRPC server. For that, what I can do is, if error is okay, so I can do s.serve, and I can pass the listener, and if error is not equals to nil, I can stop the program. So fatal f could not serve, and print the error. Now after I do this, let us check if everything is set up correctly or not. So clear, and let us run the server file. So in my case, to run the server file, I need to enable CGO. I need to basically disable and run server, but in your case you should just run this and it should work fine. So in my case, I should see server listening, but I cannot see server listening. Okay, unimplemented. Okay, I have a problem here. I think I have a typo somewhere in line 13. So unimplemented chat server, line 13. Okay, looks like in my chat proto I had a typo. So unimplemented chat server. Okay, basically I had a typo here. This hatch should has been small. So let me again run my proto file. I can run this command again, and after I do this, everything should run fine. So run my server.go again, and now the error is on line 27, which says that server undefined. So gRPC.server has no field or method server. Okay, it's serve, not server. Now if I clear this and run my server.go, you can see server listening. Now let us cancel this. We have created our server. Now let us create our client, and then we'll implement the first gRPC type. Now I will create a new folder called client, and inside my client I'll create a file client.go. So now I have created my client.go, and now let us create our client. So I will name this as main package, and here I will create the main entry point, and here let us create a new client. Now we can use the gRPC. So gRPC dot new client. I have to be careful regarding the typos, otherwise it will waste a lot of time. So localhost 5001 is the port. We defined port as 5001, and basically I need to disable some security problems because we do not need some security precautions here. So I will disable the transport credentials, and now this new client will return me two things. First, the connection, and it can return me error as well. So after I do this, now I should basically check if error is not equals to nil. Means if there is an error, I will terminate the program, and console log could not create a client. Did I just say console log? I used JavaScript so much. Now basically what I need to do now is that I need to defer connection close. So at the end I need to close the connection. So let us do it right here. Close. So this will ensure that my connection is closed and my memory leaks does not happen. Now I need to create a new client. Basically I need to create the new chat client. So pb dot, okay, I need to import pb right here also, so I can copy this, and here I can basically import this, and pb dot new chat client. All these methods are already defined in these files. Our job is just to use this, and here I can pass the connection, and this will return me the client. Now I can just do c dot and I can use any function. Now one more thing that we have to do is that we haven't defined function. So basically from client I want to send request to server, but what is the function that I want to request? So I need to create the function as well. So let us create the function. Now as we are implementing the first gRPC type, which is Unary, and I want to register user, which I already defined in chat proto, I need to create this function in my server. So basically I need to create register user function. So here I will add a comment called Unary so that it makes you easy to identify which type is which, and this should be only callable by server object, and the function name is register user. And from client I will get context. Now context is basically, in request you send context, which is additional information about the context, and that is what we are accepting in register user. And another thing we will get is the request itself, which is pb.userinfo. Now userinfo is the type that we defined right here, so we are accepting that, and from our server we'll respond with register response. So pb.register response, this is this, so we'll respond with message register response, and let us open curly braces, and we might also return an error if something unexpected happened. Now we need to register user. So okay, so let us create a var registered users, and this will be a slice of string. So we will store all the registered users in this slice, and now what I can do is I can, every time I get request in this function, I can append in registered users the name of the user. So in request there will be username, and to get the username we can use method called get user name. Everything is obviously defined in this Go files. Now here I am appending registered users, so I also need to do registered users. Now after I register the user, I need to respond back with error or register response. So return pb.register response, and I need to provide message, which will be, I can respond with something like get username, and I can say something like registered successfully. So whatever the name, and registered successfully, and for the error I will return nil. Now we have defined the function. Now all we need to is send request from client to this function. So we can do c dot, and we can use this function. Now we can call this function from here. It's simple as that. Now c dot register user, and in here I need to pass context, so I can pass the context dot background, and I also need to pass the request, which is pb dot user info, and here I need to pass username, and I can pass something like let me console you, and this will give me the response, or this will give me the error. And if we get error, if error is not equals to nil, basically I want to stop the program right away, and could not register user, and also print the error message. So and error, and if the user was registered, I will basically print f response, and I will print the name of the user or the response that I'm getting from the server. Basically, I'm sending the name and registered successfully. So I can do res.get message. This is it. This is Unary streaming. Now let us check if this is working correctly or not. So I will clear this and I'll create a new terminal right here. In this terminal, I will start the server. So run server.go, and from this, let me navigate to client directory and let me do this. I need to run this, copy and paste it here, and the name of the file will be client.go. Now as soon as I hit this, this will send request to server, this method in the server, and this should return me the message. So let us hit enter, and we get an unexpected error in client line 21. So what is the error? Line 21, the error here, so syntax error. So we're getting syntax error. Okay, what is the error here? So I think we have an extra bracket here, which we do not need. No, we need this bracket. So register response, register user context. Okay, the error was I missed the bracket. So now I have fixed this, and now I can run the client, and you can see in the response I'm getting, let me console you registered successfully, which means that I was able to implement the first gRPC type, which is Unary streaming. Now let us move on to the next gRPC type, which is client streaming. Now in client streaming, what happens is that in client streaming, we have server, we have client, and from client, let's suppose this is client and this is server. Now from client, I will send one request after the another. So this can be first request, second request, third request, fourth request, fifth request, and so on. And the server will basically listen to all the requests and will respond back with one response. So basically client streaming means that client sending streams of requests and server responding with one response. So now let us implement client streaming. So in our case, in client streaming, what we want to do is that we want to send messages to the server. So we want to keep sending messages from client to server, and then server will respond back with some message. Now we need to modify chat.proto. We need to add the next method or the next function or the next service. So now let us add next function. So RPC, and I will name the function as send offline messages, and from client we will be sending stream of messages which will be of type chat message, and server will respond back with upload summary. So basically I want my server to respond with how many of the messages were successfully stored. So from client we'll keep sending messages, and then after all request has been received by the server, from the server we'll respond how many of the messages were correctly stored in the database. For now it's in the slice. So I need to define chat message and upload summary. So for chat message, let us define so message, chat message, and inside this from client I want username, and another thing I want is content, and last thing I want is of type integer, which is timestamp. So basically in which time the user sends the message. Now these are the information I want from client, and from server I will respond so upload summary, and from server I want to respond how many messages were successfully stored. So int 64 successfully stored message. Okay, so we have defined our next function, which is for client streaming. Now we need to update our Go files. For that, we can run. Let us stop our server and let us run this code again. So okay, we missed a semicolon here. Let us run this command again. Okay, our Go files has been updated. Now in our server.go, let us create the function that we just defined in chat.proto. So the name of the function is send offline message. So this one is client streaming. Function, and this is for the object of server, and send offline message, and basically this will get stream of pb.chat underscore send offline messages. So send offline messages server and error. I want the server to respond back with error, so this can be nil or it can contain error. So obviously don't get confused on the naming. The name is quite long, but everything is defined here. Our job is just to use that. Now my server will keep getting the request from the client, so I have to keep listening the request. For that I will create while loop, and I will receive all the requests. So stream.receive, and I will get each request, and if I am not getting request, I will get error. Now if error is equals to, now I can get two types of error. First error, which is I am not able to get the request, that can be one error. And the second error can be when all the request has already been received by the server. In that case also I can get error, which is end of file. So if the error is end of file, then what I want to do is I want to return something. So if I get all the request, I want to respond with one message. That is basically client streaming. I already told this before. So I am getting all requests from the client, and after getting all requests, I am sending back one response. So here, after all the request has been received, I'll respond with one message. And the other type of error is the error that we get when we do not receive the request. So basically, if there is some problem while receiving the request, in that case we cannot do anything, we'll return the error. Now finally, what we want to return is, we want to, through the stream, we want to send one message and close the stream. So send and close, and we want to send pb.upload summary, and inside upload summary, what I need to provide is successfully stored message. So how many messages were successfully stored? So successfully stored message, which in our case will be in Go file, it will be stored in this format. So successfully stored message. In my case, I'm not getting suggestions, which is making me difficult to write, but in your case you should get all the suggestions. So I want to convert into int64 and length of messages. So basically each time I get request, I want to store the message in a slice. So let us complete this. So fmt.println, so each time I get a request, I will print out received message, and then finally I will create a slice and I will store all the messages in that slice. So var messages which will be of type, should I store this as string? Okay, we're getting this, so let us define a struct. So type server, which is struct, and inside this we'll have username, which will be of type string. We'll have content, which will be string, and we will have timestamp, which will be int 64. Once we do this, while I'm doing server, this is message, and here I can do message. So here I'm storing slice of messages, and each time I get a new message, I want to store that in that slice. So messages equals to append in messages, and I need to define the struct, which is username. I can get from request dot get username. So this is what I'm getting from the stream. I'm getting each request, and from each request I'm taking out username. Another thing I want is the content. Request dot get content, and the last thing I want is the timestamp. Request dot get timestamp. So okay, I get the timestamp as well. Now I have stored every messages in slice, and then finally I can return the length of messages, which will return the successfully stored message. Now I have defined the function in the server. Now I need to send request from the client. Now this is client streaming. So in client streaming, we send the request again and again. So let us create a slice of message. So basically here I want to create the same struct that I created in the server. So I can copy both of this actually, and here I can paste this. I do not need to paste this right here. I can paste this right here. Okay, now let us make request again and again to the server. So first of all, I need to prepare my messages. So I can do messages equals to append messages and message, and username I want to provide as John. Let's set content as hi, and timestamp as, let us store 1 for now. Now let us create 3. So John, Harry sends message content as hey, and let us set this as messy, hey, bye, or something. So I want this timestamp to be 2 and this as 3. So we have created slice of messages. Now we want to send request, and in each request we want to send the messages. Now let us create a while loop. No, first what can we do? Okay, we can look through this message first, and then we can send the request in the stream. Okay, that sounds good. Now for each index, we don't want the index. For each index, message in range messages. Now for each message we want to send in the stream, we want to send the chat message. So pb.chat message. Again, this is defined in the Go file. Now we need to specify the username, which will be message.username. We need to specify content, which is message.content, and we also need to define timestamp, which is message.timestamp. Alright, now whilst sending this request in the stream, we can get error. So let us accept that, and if we get an error, which means if error is not nil, then we will immediately terminate the program and print out could not send, and let us also print the error. Now I want to send this message in each 1 second, so I can do time.sleep. So I'm keeping the delay of 1 second so that we can visualize the request. Now we send the request in each second. So okay, now we get a response from the server. Here we send the message, and now we'll get a message from the server, which we can do stream dot close. After we receive, we can basically close it. So close and receive is the name of the function, and then we'll get response or we'll get an error. So basically the response is the successfully stored message, and we also can get the error if you're not getting the request in the server. Now again, if request is not equals to nil, then we want to print this could not receive, and we will respond, and then if we get the response back, let us also print the response. So fmt.printf response, and so for integer we have %d, and let us break one line and let's get successfully stored message, and yes, this should get. So everything looks correct. Now let us run this and let us see if we get any error or not. So clear this, let us run the server. Okay, we're getting an error in the server. Unknown field successfully stored. Okay, so the spelling is wrong. I getting a lot of typos today. So server line 40, successfully stored message. Okay, so let us clear this, start the server again. So okay, nothing wrong in the server now. Now in client, let us also run this command again, and let us send stream message. So clear, paste this, run this. Okay, we have a lot of error. So first of all, stream is not defined. Okay, why does it? Okay, we did not define stream here. We used a stream, but we did not define the stream. Basically, we need to define the stream first. Now to define the stream, okay, we didn't even use the function send offline stream, then we get access to stream. So c.get offline message, and we need to send the context, right? So c.context dot background. So we're sending context. Now this will give me a stream, or this can give me an error. Now we have access to the stream. So if error is not equals to nil, we do log.fatalf could not open stream, and let us print out the error message as well. So now if I run the client, now I'm getting a new type of error. Okay, so the error is, what is the error here? No new variable on the left side, line 54. So what is the error? So I think I should remove this, and also it says that it has no. Okay, I need to, let's comment this out. I don't need this now, we have already implemented that, and cannot use. So let us run client file again, client.go undefined C. So okay, this should not be comment. So run this again, undefined res 54. So this should be this, right? So let us run this again. Has no field or method get successfully stored message. So I think here, okay, another typo. Now everything should run. So I do this, I should see, okay, you can see the message is being received, which means that a request is being sent to the server one after another. And here I should see the response. So you can see 3 messages were successfully stored. If I run this again, you should see that we are receiving message one after another, and finally we get the response. So we learned about client streaming, which is client sending stream of requests to the server, and server will wait until the last request, and then it will respond back with one response. So we've implemented this. Now next type of streaming is server streaming. So we've covered two types of gRPC. Unary streaming, where client sends a request and server gets the response, and the another one is client streaming, where client sends request one after another and server responds back with one response. And now third type is server streaming. We have a client and we have a server. So let's mark this as client and this as server. Now, so client will send one request and then server will respond back with stream of message. So if you have understood client streaming, it should not be hard to understand server streaming. Client sending one request and server sending multiple response for that one request. Now I think you know the flow. Back to protofile, define the service, implement the service in server, call it from client, and visualize in the terminal. I hope you understand the flow now. Now in server streaming, what I want to do is I want to get a request from the client, and I will basically respond with the chat history. In that case, we can implement correctly the server streaming. So let's do this. So RPC get chat history, and I will get a request and I will get chat history request, and my server will respond with stream of chat message. And I need to define chat history request and chat message. Chat message is already defined. I need to define chat history request, which is the data that I get from the client. So message chat history request, and I will accept a timestamp. So here what I want to do is client will send me the timestamp, and if client sends timestamp as 1 or 2, then I will return back all the messages after that timestamp. So if the client sends timestamp as 1, then I'll send 2 and 3, the message that has timestamp 2 and 3. So I want to send all the messages that has timestamp more than the timestamp that has been sent by the client to the server. That is how we are going to implement server streaming. Now back to our server.go, and now let us create the function. So we created client streaming. Now server streaming. I hope you are understanding gRPC in very detailed way. So function, so server, and the name of the function. Okay, we forgot to execute this file, so let us stop our server and let us run our proto file. Okay, now these files have already been updated after we run this, and now we need to create this function, get chat history, and from client we'll get one request, which will be pb.chat history request. And we also, now from the server we need to respond back stream, so we need the access to stream, and it will be from chat get chat history server. I know the naming convention, but if you do not know the naming convention, that should not be a problem for you, because you you will get the suggestions. In my case, I'm not getting the suggestions because I think something is wrong in Golang setup in my computer right now. But you should not face the problem. You should basically see automatic completions or variable assistance. Now for each, I need to loop through messages. I need to loop through this slice of messages and respond the message. So for each index, message range messages, and if the index is greater than or equals to, so convert the request, get timestamp. So from request I'm getting timestamp and I'm converting that to integer, and I'm comparing. So I want all the timestamp, I want all the messages after that timestamp. So I'm checking the condition, and I need to do -1 because it's index best, so starts from 0. And now from stream I will send the response. So basically pb.chat message, because this is what we're sending back, which is chat message. So chat message, and then I need to specify username, which is message.username, content, which is message.content, and last thing is timestamp, which is message.timestamp. So okay, this stream will return me, can return me the error, will return me the error. It can be nil or it can have some value, and if it has some value, which means that if error is not equals to nil, then what I want to do is I want to return that error. Otherwise, if I don't get any error, I want to return nil, which means that we got the response for that request successfully. Now here what we are doing is that we get a request, and for that request we're sending the response in the stream again and again. For each message, we're looping through each message and checking if the timestamp is greater, and we're sending that message in the stream. So we've correctly implemented, I think we have correctly implemented server streaming. Now let us make a request to the server. Now back to our client.go, and inside our client.go, first of all, let us comment some code that we don't need, which is we don't need anything up to here. So comment this out, and here we need to now access that. Basically we need to access that function. So now let us do c.get chat history, and we need to send the context, so context.background, and another thing we need to send in the request is the chat history request, and here we need to send the timestamp. So let's specify 1. So I want all the messages that has timestamp 2 and 3 as a response. Now this will give me the stream, which I can store in chat stream variable, and I can also get an error. And if I get an error, if error is not equals to nil, then terminate the program right away. Error, print the error, and error. Okay, now we have access to the stream. Now let us send one request. So I need to send a request. So okay, now I need to get all the response, right? This time I'm getting multiple response for the server, so I need to start a for loop, which is while loop, sorry, and chat stream, and I need to receive all the response. So receive, and I will get each response, and I also can get error. Now similar thing we did before. There will be two types of error. One is the error that we get when we do not receive a response correctly, and another type of error is when we received all the response. So basically if we received all the response, which means that we've hit end of file, and io.end of file, then we want to break the loop. And if we get unexpected error, error is not equals to nil, then terminate the program right away, because we have an error in the response. So error, print the error. Okay, now let us console.log the final response that we get. fmt.println printf. So right here we're printing the response every time we're getting from the server. So printf chat history, and I will print three things. First is the username, and second will be the content, and third one will be the actual timestamp. And let us break line and rest dot get username, and second thing is rest dot get content, and third thing is rest dot get timestamp. So okay, now if I run client, I should be able to send a request, and for that request I'll get stream of response, and I'm printing that in the terminal. So let's see if we have implemented this correctly or not. So clear this. First of all, let us start our server. So obviously we got error line 58. Okay, so error undefined. Okay, another typo on 104. So okay, we missed extra s. Expected this to happen, so run the server file again. Okay, server is listening. Now as soon as I hit request from the client, the server should respond back with stream of messages, and I will be able to visualize here. Now obviously if client runs correctly, if there is no typos. Okay, another typo, client 71. What is the error now? Okay, so this should be comma, not am. So let us run client, and we did not see any response. So why did we see any response? So we're receiving chat stream and we're printing out this, but this terminated right away, because I think why this terminated right away, it should not have happened. So okay, so basically why we got that was because I had commented this out. Now I have uncommented this, because as I'm not sending any message, how can I retrieve the message from the backend? So first of all, I send the message, and then now I should be able to see all the message. So chat history. So now let us run our client once again, and we should see the chat history. So run the client, and now I think request is being sent. Okay, now we get the response back. So we are getting chat history. You can see the server is sending me response one after another. So we have learned about server streaming as well. Before we learned about client streaming. Now we have already learned about server streaming, where we are sending stream of response from the server to the client. I hope you got about server streaming as well. Now the last type of gRPC is bidirectional streaming. Let us revise what we did up to now. First type was the Unary streaming, where you had server and you had a client. Client sends a request to the server, server responds back, that is Unary. Client streaming is client sending multiple requests and server sending a single response. Server streaming is client sending one request and server giving response one after the another to the client. Now last type is bidirectional streaming, where you have client and you have server. Client sends multiple requests and server responds with multiple response. So client sending multiple requests to the server and server responding multiple response to the client. So this is bidirectional streaming. So basically this is a real-time application of chat. So let us implement this. This is the combination of client streaming and server streaming. So let us quickly implement this in our project, in our mini project. So first of all, we need to add a new function in .proto. Now what we aim to add is, let us create a new function. So RPC chat, and basically from client we'll get stream of chat message, and our server will respond with stream of chat message. We already have chat message defined previously, so this should do, and we need semicolon. Now in our server, let us stop the server and let us run the protofile. So we have executed this command and we have already created equivalent Go code. Now we need to create function in our server.go. So we need to create that chat function here. So let us create that. So function, this should not be very difficult. This is the combination of both type of streams that we did previously. So we're getting stream of request from the client. So pb.chat_chat server, and we respond back with error, and we should listen for every request. So inside while loop we listen to stream of request, so stream.receive, and we will get request or we might get an error. Okay, now if we get error, again there are two types of error, you might have already guessed this, io.end of file. So if all request has been received and no further request is yet to receive, then we will return nil. Otherwise, if we get error getting the request, then we will respond back with that error. Now every time we will, let us log something in the console, so log.printf, and we will do received, so received, and we'll print username, we'll print content, and then we'll also print the timestamp. So request dot get username, request dot get content, and then finally request dot get timestamp. And last thing what we want to do is, after getting all, as we get a request from the client, we want to send response also. So for each request we'll send a response back. So in the stream we want to send the chat message, so chat message, and we need to send username. So let us respond with the same username that we get from the client. So, and let us append response at the end so that we know we're sending response from the server. So this is username. Another thing we need to pass is content, so getting the content that we get from the client and appending response. And final, we need to pass timestamp, so request dot get request, okay, this should be get content, not just content, get content, and request dot get timestamp, and let us respond the same timestamp. Now this will give me error, so error, and basically if error is not equals to nil, I want to stop the program, so and print could not send message from server via stream, and print the error message. So we've created the server side, we're getting request, and as we're getting request we're sending response. So we have created the server side for bidirectional streaming. Now we need to use that particular function in the client side. Now we don't need this previous function calling, so we can basically we can comment that, and now we need to create bidirectional streaming. So now we need to call that chat function, so c dot chat, and in this we need to pass the context. So context dot background, and this will give me stream and give me error. So stream or error, and if error is not equals to nil, then log dot fatal f, and let us print could not open stream channel, and also print the error message. Now, okay, I think we need this because we will send stream of message requests. So here we have a new concept called goroutine. Basically, there are two threads. One is the main thread where we execute the main function, and we need to parallelly execute another function because we just don't want to send request to the server, but at the same time we also want to listen to the response given by the server. So we need to create a goroutine, and this is not plus, this is equals to. Okay, now let us create a goroutine. So func, and basically this is now a goroutine. Now let us listen to all the response from the server. So for loop and stream dot receive, and we will get each response and error. So if, again, two types of error, end of file, if we received everything then we want to break, or if we get some unexpected error then we will immediately terminate the program, could not get response, and let's print the error. Okay, and if we get the response, so let us just print that in the terminal. So received %as %d for timestamp, and let us break the line. So response dot get username, response dot get content, and lastly response dot get timestamp. I think it is looking everything we're doing again and again, but we're just learning all four types of gRPC here. So this one is for receiving response. Now on the main thread we want to send request. So we want to send stream of request to the server as well. Now for each index and message range messages, what we want to do is in the stream we created, we want to send request. So pb dot chat message, and inside chat message we need to send username, which will be message dot username. We also need to pass content, which is message dot content. So content, and this should be lowercase. So content, message dot content, and finally timestamp, which is message dot timestamp. So okay, we're sending, and we can get error, and if we get error, then if error is not equals to nil, then we want to immediately stop the program. So log dot fatal f could not send request in the stream or through the stream, anything. So %v and error. Now once we send, let's add a delay. So send request in every 1 second. So we're doing sleep. Now let us understand this again. This one is for listening to the response from the server, and this one is for sending multiple requests to the server. Server will listen to the multiple requests and will for each request send response back. So now if we run server, let us firstly run server. So go run server, and we have error in line 77. Okay, if error, okay, new variable, so no new variables on the left side. What is the error here? No new variable. Should I remove this? And if I run this, it I think, okay, server is listening. Basically this was already defined, that's why already defined, so I don't need to redefine this. I can just initialize the value. Now server has already been started. Now in my client, let us run the client and send request and receive response for each request. So run the client, and obviously we have an error. So in line 96, I'm getting a lot of syntax error, but bear with me because I don't have suggestions. So okay, I rewrote this block of code again, and now it's working correctly. So I did the same thing again. Basically, I don't know what I missed before, but I have my server running. Now if I send, okay, so first of all, now if I send multiple stream of request, I should get multiple stream of response. So let's see that. In my server, I'm getting multiple stream of request, and for each request I'm getting a response. So this is bidirectional streaming, where we send multiple requests to the server, and server also sends multiple response to the client. So we've learned about all 4 types of gRPC: Unary streaming, client streaming, server streaming, and bidirectional streaming. I hope you understood every type of gRPC. Now this was a very long video because I wanted to show you each line of code and go into deep on how everything works. Basically could have just copy pasted and shown you the code, but I didn't want it to. So if you like the video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will provide you all the code in the GitHub